Welcome to this video, and in this video we will study about syllables and how we can understand vowel allocations into these syllables. Okay, before we begin with that, there's some terminologies I would like to bring to your attention. First is, let me just break these up. There are two words on my screen, melek and davar. I just break them up into syllables. And the terminology, the first terminology I would like you to know is the syllable with the accent is called the tone syllable. Now, typically in Hebrew, the tone syllable or the stress syllable or the accented syllable is always the last syllable. So in this word like dabar, this is the tone syllable or what we call the accented syllable. When I come to melek, you will notice that there's a munak. So Hebrew is telling me that in the word melek, the stressed syllable or the accented syllable is not in the last syllable. It is in the syllable in which the munak is placed. So in this case, this is the accented syllable. So the accented syllable is also called a tone syllable or a stress syllable. Now, the syllable before the accent is called a pre-tonic syllable. So let me go to davar again. If this is the tone syllable, then this is the syllable that is before the tonic syllable. So it's called a pre-tonic syllable. Pre-tonic syllable. Again, easy for you to remember because pre is before the tone syllable, okay, or pre-tonic syllable. The next terminology I would like you to remember is the post-tonic syllable. And for that, let's look at the melek example. In the melek example, because of the munak, the tone syllable, which is now I'm representing as TS, the tone syllable is in the me. So, this syllable, lek, which is now coming after the tone syllable, is what we call post-tonic syllable. In other words, it's coming post, after the tone syllable. In this case, the tone syllable is the me, and lek is the post-tonic syllable. So get the terminologies right. Then let's look at this word. In this word, I have a mem with a sere, he with a kametz, aleph with a kametz, dalet with a kametz, and a mem. Remember, just a quick word here. You see this aleph here, it is not quiescent. It's not functioning as a vowel simply because you have a kametz below it. All right, just bear that in mind. Okay, so back to this word. So I have 4 full vowels and therefore I can only have 4 syllables. Let me just break them up, and this is pretty much a straightforward break. Now, as we always said, the accented, there's no munak here. So the accented syllable is always going to be the last one. So this is the accented syllable, or what we call the tone syllable. This is the pre-tonic because it is before the tone. Now, these 2 syllables are what we call pre-tonic syllables. Pre-tonic syllables. Because they occur before the pre-tonic. So this is the pre-tonic, it occurs before the pre-tonics. So that's this, okay? Now, Hebrew will allow you to have 1 tonic syllable, 1 post-tonic. It will allow you to have 1 pre-tonic. But it can allow many pre-tonics. Please remember that. It can allow many pre-tonics. In this example, you have 2 pre-tonic syllables that are there. All right. Now, there is an alternative system of syllable classification for which the location of the accent is not determinative. In other words, it does not matter where the accent comes in the particular word. Okay, so in this system, the ultima is the last syllable of the word. That doesn't change. Any word you get, the last syllable is called the ultima. The penultima is the second to last syllable. This is the last syllable. Ultima is the last word. This is the second to last. And antepenultima is the syllable before the penultima. This is an alternative kind of a classification. So I come back to my word dabar and break it up. So this is the ultima and this is the penultima. I don't have a antepenultima. Let me give you another example. And I go back to my melek. It has a munak below it. I've broken it up into syllables. Now, in this particular classification, remember, it doesn't matter on where the accent is. In any case, this last syllable is still going to be called the ultima. And this is called the penultima. There is no antepenultima here. So now let's look at syllables and the vowel rules that govern the syllables. And for this section, again, may I impress upon you to know these two words, melek and dabar. If you know these two words and how the rules function within these two words, you pretty much have a good grip of this concept. So let's read the first one. In a closed accented syllable, Hebrew prefers a long vowel. Remember, in a closed accented syllable, Hebrew prefers it, a long vowel. So let's break the two words up into syllables, and I have done exactly that. I'm going to go to the word dabar. In a closed accented syllable, Hebrew prefers a long vowel. Now, can you see this second syllable bar? It ends with the resh, and therefore it is a closed. Now, on a word like dabar, the second syllable bar contains the accent, so it's a closed accented syllable. And what does it say? In a closed accented syllable, Hebrew prefers a long vowel. Is kametz a long vowel? The answer is yes. There's a preference for that. And that is pretty much the first rule. If you know just this one word dabar, you will know this rule. Take a minute to absorb this. Let us look at the next rule. Now, the previous rule was about closed accented syllable. Now, this rule is a closed unaccented syllable. So, in a closed unaccented syllable, Hebrew requires, please remember the word, requires a short vowel. It requires a short vowel in a closed unaccented syllable. For this rule, for you to understand this concept, I am going to use the word melek. Now, melek, as you can see, has a munak in front, and therefore I have broken this into two syllables. This is now classified as the lek, which is the second syllable, is ending with a kaf, so it is a closed syllable because it's ending with a consonant. It is an unaccented syllable simply because the munak is in the first syllable under the mem. And remember, me is the first syllable, so that's the accented one. So here it is closed, unaccented syllable. What does the rule say? In a closed, unaccented, Hebrew requires it that you have a short vowel. And can you see segol here? Segol is a short vowel, and that is why the segol exists there and not any other, not sere, which would have been a long vowel. The Hebrew requires you to have a short vowel there. In this case, it's the segol. Take a minute to absorb this. Here's the next rule. The third rule is, in an open pretonic syllable, Hebrew requires a long vowel. In an open pretonic, it requires, please remember, it requires a long vowel. For you to remember and understand this concept, let me take you back to davar. Now, davar, I'm going to look at the first syllable. The first syllable, da, it is ending with a commit, and therefore it's a vowel, so it's an open syllable. Now, this is an open. Where's the tone syllable? This is the tone syllable, okay, because the stress is on the bar. So rather this is the tone syllable or stress syllable or accented syllable. So this is the da is an open pre-tonic syllable, or in other words, an open unaccented syllable, okay, another word for that. So this, what we call an open pre-tonic, is also an open unaccented. Okay, open pre-tonic syllable. Hebrew requires you to have a long vowel, and that's exactly what this is. Kametz is a long vowel, and this is one way to figure out that, alright, this is a kametz and not a kametz khatuf, because kametz khatuf is a short vowel. Hebrew will not allow it to be in an open pre-tonic position. This will always be a long vowel, kametz. Take a minute to understand this, please. The next rule. In an open accented syllable, Hebrew prefers a short vowel. Remember the operative word, prefers, in an open accented syllable. For you to get this concept correctly, let me get back to the melek word. Okay, the melek here has a munach here, so it's broken up into two syllables. The first syllable is a may with a segol and a munach. Okay, that's where the syllable ends. This is ending with a segol, and therefore it is an ending with a vowel, and therefore it's an open. The accent is on the syllable simply because of the munach, so it's an open accented syllable. In this open accented syllable, Hebrew prefers a short vowel. In this case, it's a segol, correct? And segol is a short vowel. And this is one way how you can remember this rule. Please remember these two words, melek and davar. If you do remember it, these 4 rules which I have just taught you will be crystal clear in your mind. Take a minute to absorb this. The next one is, in an originally open pro-pretonic syllable, Hebrew requires a short vowel. A vocal shava. Let me repeat that again. In an originally open pro-pretonic syllable, Hebrew requires a vocal shava. A vocal shava. A vocal shava it requires. Okay, let's look at the word davar. Now, Hebrew typically adds alphabets before or after. All right. The moment you add anything from the front or from the end, you alter the syllable structure of the word, and that will cause changes in the vowel system also, or rather in the vowel rules, because there will be changes in the vocalization, in other words. So let me just kind of give you one very advanced information. Davar is anyway a noun. One of the ways it makes one of the way masculine plurals are formed is by adding plurals, masculine plurals rather. Masculine plurals is by adding the word im, masculine plurals. So now this has become a plural. Now, in an originally open pro-pretonic. Now, how many syllables are there? How many vowels are there? Full vowels? 3 full vowels. So I'll have 3 syllables. So now you see I've broken it up. In an originally open pretonic. Now, where is the tonic syllable or the accented syllable? This is the tonic syllable. This is the pretonic syllable. This is now the originally pro-pretonic. Okay, pro-pretonic. Before the tonic. Pro-pretonic. Yeah. Is it open? And the answer is yes, because it ends with a kametz. So it is open. It is an open pro-pretonic. What this rule says that in such a case, this kametz is now reduced to a vocal sheva. Now, when you have such reduction taking place, this particular syllable cannot exist by itself. Now that means dalet with a vocal shava cannot exist itself as a syllable, because every syllable requires a full vowel. So it now merges with the next uh, consonant and this one to form a bisyllable word. So now you can clarify it now. You have now two full vowels, therefore you should have only two syllables. You see? Perfect. Please remember, in an originally open propretonic syllable, we see a reduction in the vowel. It reduces to a vocal sheva. Always remember that. This is what we call a propretonic reduction. A propretonic reduction. Take a minute to observe this. Here's the last rule that I want you to remember. In an open post-tonic syllable, Hebrew requires a long vowel. Remember, in a post-tonic syllable, Hebrew requires a long vowel. Now, here is the word katalta. Katalta. Now, I can see three full vowels, and therefore I should have three syllables. Now, I can see a dagesh lene here. Therefore, I know this is a silent sheva. And therefore, I can break my syllable. Obviously, my first syllable is here, my second syllable is there, my third syllable. Now, you see this sign? That is the atnak. Where is the atnak placed? The atnak, if you remember the definition, is always placed in the accented syllable. So in this syllable, it's telling you, the atnak is telling you that this is the stressed syllable or this is the tone syllable. If this is the tone syllable, what comes after it is the post-tonic syllable. What comes before it is the pre-tonic syllable. Okay. Now, coming to the post-tonic syllable, that means the ta. Here, you will notice it ends with a kametz, and therefore it is an open post-tonic. And an open post-tonic, it requires you to have a long vowel. Is kametz a whole long vowel? The answer is yes. It is a long vowel. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why you should not expect the kametz khatuf, because kametz khatuf is a short vowel. So you should not pronounce it as an O sound. You should pronounce it as the A sound or the R sound. All right, fair enough. Now, so the next question is, when does the kametz khatuf? How do I differentiate between a kametz khatuf and a kametz the O sound and the A sound, or the R sound. Anyway, we'll just have to look at that now. All right, take a minute to observe this. Before this, just remembered about that, a small discussion on the vocal sheva, on that silent sheva. Sorry, I will just get back to it now. Now, in Hebrew, we were taught earlier that a vocal sheva will follow a long vowel and a silent sheva will follow a short vowel. Okay, so now when I look at this word now, katalta, logic should have said, okay, this is a kametz, so this should be a vocal sheva, correct? That should have been how it is by the laws of Hebrew so far. But I said, okay, but in class when I was teaching, I said, look, this is a silent sheva primarily because there is a dagesh lene there. There is a dagesh lene, and that tells me this is silent, and this is the syllable divider. So now I found an obscure law, which is now, in an accented syllable, in this case, this is accented. Why? Because this word has the atnak. Where is the atnak placed? The atnak divides the first half of the verse, and it is placed on the last word, in the accented syllable of the last word in the first half of the verse. That's where the atnak is. So atnak is now on the syllable that is accented. If that is accented, there's a rule. In an accented syllable, the silent sheva may be to the left of a long vowel. So here this is the long vowel. The left of the long vowel is a sheva, and this is silent. So this is a rule that you need to just kind of, I found it in the footnote of a grammar book. That explains why that is a silent shava. Just gives you, you know what, that in Hebrew you have to look at every dot to figure out a lot of the conclusions that you draw. In this case, my first instinct was, all right, that then the Tagish Lene is there, it's just going to be a silent shava, and that is correct. But here is the more is the rule that that governs it, that the silent shava in an accented syllable, the silent shava may be to the left of a long vowel. Please remember this. Okay, take a minute to observe that, please. All right, so how do I differentiate between kamets katuf and kamets? Both have the same sign here. How do I recognize it? One, kamets katuf is a O class short vowel, kamets is a class long vowel. Now, the important thing to remember is kamets katuf is always found in a closed unaccented syllable. So you have a word like this. This is ending, the accent is this one, so this is unaccented, and this is ending, this is kaf is ending, this is a silent shava, and this is ending with a consonant, and therefore this is a closed unaccented. So you will remember this. Now, one of the things is that kamets katuf, predominantly you're going to always have kamets, but there are a lot of there are some vocabulary rather. You will memorize it and you'll know, all right, this is by memory, you will know this is a kamets katuf. All right, because of the vocabulary that you've studied and the pronunciation you've been doing all along. Predominantly kamets. Now, kamets comes in two positions. One, it's in an open pretonic syllable. Now, to remember that, I've already taught you dabar is the good word. This is an open pretonic syllable. This is a kamets. Or it comes in a closed accented syllable. And again, the last part, bar, is a closed accented syllable. So that's a kamets. So kamets will occur in a open pretonic syllable or a closed accented syllable. Take a minute to observe this. The final rule that I want you to remember with regards to kamets katuf and kamets is, in case of an ambiguity, a method will tell you it's an A class vowel kamets. So you see this word, you have an aleph with a sign that could either be a kamets katuf or a kamets. And next to it you have the method sign, and then you have a mem, you have a sheva, you have the resh, and you have a kamets ending it. All right. Now, the moment you see a method here, you should be assured that this is a kamets and not a kamets katuf. All right. The method will tell you clearly it's a kamets. The moment you see a method here, please remember, if you remember the rules of method, this will be a vocal shava. In other words, what it theoretically means, a method cuts the line because a vocal shava will now start a new syllable. Okay, theoretically, if you're going to break it up into a syllable. All right, the method will tell you that it's a kamets, number one. The moment you have a method there, if there's a shava following it, the shava is a vocal shava. You can look at the rules on method to understand this. Please, this is an important rule. And if it is a vocal shava, you know vocal shava begins a syllable, so I can safely say that the syllable cuts after the method here, okay, which I have done exactly. So now the next syllable start, and this is two full vowels, and you have two syllables here. Okay, but the more important thing of this slide is, the moment you see a method in an ambiguous position next to a kamets sign like this, you can be assured that it's the A class kamets which has been discussed, and not the O short vowel kamets katuf. All right, please bear in mind, many students forget this rule, and method is a huge help to tell you it's a A class kamets and not an O class kamets katuf. All right, this brings me to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you gained much. Above all, you know what, be grateful for the time that God has given us to study this language. Thank you.